Hi there, it's Troy welcoming you to another podcast. It's April the 20th, Monday. I'm in London, lockdown London, in my bunker. Looking pretty sunny and nice outside though, so there are some things to be cheerful about. And today, I want to talk to you about why you are not getting the results you want in the modern dating marketplace. Okay, so we're going to crack into that topic in just a moment. Aside from that, notices from me. Well, Renegade Dating Blueprint, as always, is on sale. You can get that for $39 at the moment. Perfect for quarantine. If you want to learn more about dating and game and all that stuff, there's a link below. But the really big news this week, and actually this dovetails into what I'm talking about in the podcast today, is that Charisma and Dating Academy, which is my course, my high-level course about mindset, game, and how to navigate this current rather tricky dating marketplace, is open for enrollment on April the 30th until 4th of May, okay? So it's a very, very limited window because places on it are limited. So from the 30th of April to the 4th of May, you will have the opportunity to enroll in the course, and I'll be giving more details over the next week or so, obviously, on the contents of that course, but it's 10 hours worth of incredibly in-depth video tutorials, plus I'm also going to be doing Zoom tutorials for people who've joined as well. So there's going to be, there's 5 segments within that course, and there's going to be a Zoom tutorial. Actually, there's going to be 2 Zoom tutorials on each of those segments, so spread apart for different time zones. So it's not just that you're going to get this course and then that's it and you go away and study it. You're also going to get tuition from me as well in a group setting via Zoom. So I'm really excited about this. Oh, the other thing I'm going to do also is set up a Telegram group as well for guys who enter this quarter. So I'm really excited about this. It's going to be interactive. The course in itself is packed full of tons of information, but you're also going to get that interactivity with me and with other students as well. So it's going to be awesome. And as I say, I'll be putting out more detail about that over the coming days and week or so. But if you want to get on board with that, then there's a link below for the for my email my email list, and you need to get on that because that's where most of the information is going to be seeded out through. So there's a new link below, it takes you to a page which talks a bit about Charisma and Dating Academy, and just enter your email there and you'll be in the know on all of the latest updates, etc. All right, so look, let's go on to talk about the modern dating scene. It's pretty screwed, isn't it? Let's face it, it's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. And look, with all of this stuff, right? I mean, yes, COVID is going on. Yes, we're in isolation and lockdown. But look, here's the thing, right? So before anybody in the comments on YouTube or whatever says, well, what are we supposed to do at the moment because we're all in isolation, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I know. I'm in London. I'm in lockdown too. It's clearly not a time to be going out and doing day game or anything like that because the streets are deserted and nobody's allowed out. So yes, I accept that. However, here's the thing, right? What you have to bear in mind, let's be rational about this for a moment, okay? Lockdown is not going to last forever, right? Lockdown is not going to last forever. I know it feels like it. I know there's some nutty conspiracy theories going around. I know it feels like this is the new normal and this is going to be it forever. But it really isn't. And here's why. It's in nobody's interests to keep the world economy locked down for a long period of time. Even if you're of a conspiratorial frame of mind, which I know some people are, it's still in nobody's interest to keep the status quo forever, right? And what we're seeing currently, if you looked at the news over the weekend, you will see that currently in many countries around the world, there is growing pressure on governments to open up their economies again, right? And that's coming from all sectors. It's coming from ordinary people who are, just want to go back to work. They're a bit fed up with lockdown. It's coming from business, who are obviously very concerned about their companies and their, what's going to happen the longer this goes on. It's coming from other politicians who think that, there's got to be a balance struck between protecting people's health, which is obviously manifestly important, but also the health of the economy, which is important in a different way. And all these different sorts of groups are lobbying governments, beginning to lobby governments in order to open up again. And in fact, we are starting now to see some signs of that. I read this morning that I think in Denmark, schools are starting to... I think schools may have already opened in Denmark, actually. And, excuse me. Nice bit of coffee. Spain apparently are starting to look at allowing children to go outside again. There's talk in the UK, and the UK, the situation is not good here in terms of people affected by corona. But nevertheless, there is talk here of a tiered system for getting people back out, back into work, etc., etc. So, and of course, United States of America, we know that Trump is very keen to get the economy going again. So look, here's the reality. Things are going to get phased back to some degree of normality within the next weeks and months, okay? And in different places of the world. It may take longer in some places, it may happen more quickly in other places. Nevertheless, we are going to start to see some sort of reversion to the norm. People are going to be out and about again, and things are going to start to revert back to how they were before. Now, yes, okay, there might be bans on big gatherings and blah-de-blah-de-blah. But nevertheless, we are going to come out of this, okay? And so, as I've been saying all along, right, now is a very good period to consider where you are and to think about, okay, so if perhaps I wasn't getting the success before in the dating market, why is that? And what can I do to improve? Okay, so anyway, that was a long segue off of the main point, really. But I just want to make it very clear, right? People will say, well, yeah, but what's the point in talking about all this? Because, coronavirus and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I know, but look, this is a temporary point in history. This is a blip. And we are going to return to normal, and you need to be equipped for that. So anyway, look, the modern dating scene is pretty screwed up, and not just by the virus and so on. And the reason for that, as we've said before, is that dating apps and Instagram now pretty much rule the day. So you have a profile on Tinder, on Bumble, on Hinge, whatever, also on Instagram, and that is the main way that people are now meeting up. And the thing with that is, not only is that happening all over the place, and it's only going to increase. The genie's not going back in the bottle. That's not going to disappear. We're not going to go back to some old trad situation where you ask the girl's father if you can date her or anything like that. Online dating and meeting up with people and stuff is here to stay, and it's only going to increase. And the thing with that is it's global. So if you're a girl, a very pretty girl in a small village in Slovenia, and you have an Instagram page with lots of lovely, cute, pretty pictures on it of yourself wearing different outfits, then that page is not just seen in Slovenia, in your village, it's seen all over the world. And it's seen by guys of very different social standings all over the planet. So you have got incredibly rich guys in Saudi Arabia looking at it. You have multi-millionaires in Dubai, in Monaco, with access to that profile. And of course, what that means is, because of the magic of sliding into the DMs, that girl who may previously have been a very humble, solitary girl living in her little village and, ready and willing to marry the local hairdresser or the guy who works in the local petrol station, is now suddenly being bombarded with direct messages from these incredibly high-powered individuals from across the planet. Well, clearly, that is going to have a profound effect, not only on her individual decision-making, because she might think, well, actually, I kind of quite like to go to Miami, and, I quite like to go to Dubai and, live it up and get it all paid for by this sugar daddy dude. But that's happening through society, right? It's not just one person. It is it's an aggregated thing. It's exponential within society, and of course, that is going to make changes in terms of how the dating marketplace operates. So, whereas 10, 15 years ago, you could walk out of your door and get talking to maybe a nice girl in the coffee shop, and there'd be a reasonable opportunity for you to start dating and maybe form a relationship or whatever. That can still happen. I mean, that it does happen, and actually that's what we're going to be talking about next. But here's the thing. You are still in competition with those other guys. You are in competition with the dude in Dubai who is staying in that, what's that 7-star hotel called in Dubai? He's staying in the 7-star hotel. He's got a suite there. He can fly you over on a private jet, etc., etc. You are still competing with those guys. Now, the girl may not, in the end want to do that. She might not be, she might have that kind of attitude about life where she's like, well, actually, listen, I'm not just going to randomly fly across the world with some random dude because he's got money. Let's be clear. I'm not saying that all women are like that or whatever. People will make their own decisions. But, excuse me, coffee. But, it's going to affect her sense of herself. It's going to affect her estimation of her value in the dating marketplace. How would it not, right? It's human nature. And so that's going to then have a knock-on effect on the dating choices she makes more locally. So is she now going to settle for you if she thinks, well, hang on a minute, I'm desired by princes and kings across the globe. What's so good about this guy? So that is the environment that you're in. That's the competition that you're up against. And the other big problem, right, is this. Most guys are boring chodes. Now, again, I don't want to blame either gender for any of this, right? So I don't also want to be saying, well, it's all the guys' fault because guys are boring chodes and, if they just manned up and did X, Y, and Z, then they'd be more acceptable to women and all of these issues wouldn't arise. That's not what I'm saying either, and I don't believe that. I think that, as I always say, right, nature is amoral, okay? Not immoral, amoral, right? It is what it is, right? Female behavior, it is what it is. Male behavior is what it is. You have to understand it, you have to accept it, and then you have to find a way forward, okay? But the truth of the matter is that many, many guys these days are kind of boring chodes. Why is that? Well, it's not really their fault, right? It's in part a very natural response to the effects of globalization, okay? Because look, here's the thing, right? As we've known for many, many years, you go to any city in Europe now, where I'm based, and you're going to see the same shops everywhere. There's always a Zara, there's always an H&M, there's usually a Starbucks, obviously a McDonald's is everywhere. Many, many different places, which are everywhere. Music is pretty global now. We have a lot of, in the UK, we have a lot of American R&B, American pop music, American rap, and all the rest of it, trap or whatever. The same as you would in France or in Spain or Germany, Italy. Yes, there are still cultural differences. Yes, let's not go into sort of anti-globalist meltdown here. Yes, England still has a very, very distinct culture. So does Germany, so does Spain, blah, blah, blah. But it is starting to be eroded, and we are now all operating under broadly the same cultural stimuli. So, what did I listen to recently? Okay, so like the Dua Lipa album came out recently. She's a UK sort of pop artist. I listened to her album because I wanted to listen to something quite light and poppy and stuff, and it's pretty good. But she's a big star here, but she's also pretty big in across Europe. She's also got some popularity in America as well, right? So her album drops on Spotify, and then all over the planet, people are listening to those same songs. They're getting that same influence, that same, and all of these artists, these global artists and these global brands are affecting, what we input, the culture, the music we listen to, the movies we see. It's all the same. And it's also affecting the way that we style ourselves, the way we dress, the way we present ourselves. And that, of course, is exacerbated by the fact that the clothing stores are global as well. So, I can go in London, I can buy an outfit in Zara. If I was in Berlin, I could buy exactly the same outfit in Zara in Berlin, right? There's no differentiation. And so what that is doing, in my view, is creating a generation or a couple of generations of people who are very, very broadly the same, right? They're a bit boring. There's nothing to make one person stand out from another. Put on top of that, societal programming, which says you should do X, Y, and Z, you should get a job, you should get a mortgage, you should get married by the time you're, 28 or 29 or 30 or whatever it is now. Your life should look like this, X, Y, and Z. These are the comedy shows that you should watch to laugh at. These are the Netflix series that you should watch in order to have something to talk about around the water cooler with your fellow sheeple colleagues. These are the clothes that you should wear. This is what you should do at the weekend. These are the sports events you should watch. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. What we're doing is creating generations of people who are all very beige, all very vanilla, and all do the same stuff. And that is not good. And it's not good for you in the dating market, right? And here's the reason why. Right now, because of this globalized dating market, because of the competition that has been injected into the scene by these apps and by the global nature of and connectivity of the internet, that means that success in the dating market is weighted towards that top 20% of guys that we always go on about, right? So that top 20% of guys, the ripped, good-looking, rich, blue check on Instagram type dudes, are the dudes who are cleaning up, let's say, in this marketplace. Well, okay, good for them. But what happens if you're not one of those guys? Now, there are varying opinions on this, and what some people will say is, well, look, if you're not one of those guys, you need to level up. You need to become that guy. You need to work, you need to invest in certain products, you need to do certain things so that you become that top 20% man, okay? And you have to do everything. You have to become ripped, you have to have huge muscles, you have to be rich as hell, you have to have your Instagram pimped, etc., etc., etc. Now, in principle, there's nothing actually wrong with that advice, because here's the thing, right? Yes, you do. You do need to have everything, and you do need to self-improve, okay? Nobody listening to this should be resting on their laurels and thinking, well, whatever, I'll just eat a load of Cheetos and, grow a gut and, wear cargo pants because I'm not in that top 20%, so what the hell can I do, right? I mean, look, you've only got one life on this planet. You need to seize it with both hands, and you need to force yourself into a process of change, okay, that makes you into the best possible version of yourself that you can be. However, let's be brutally honest about this. Not every dude out there is going to become that, top 20% Playboy, Instagram model type guy that we're all being told that we should become. I mean, I'm certainly not, and I think the reality is that many, many guys who listen to this won't. And you can really get sold on this idea of just do these things and, you will become that James Bond figure and, and then you'll have this harem of beautiful women who are just, who just can't wait to start DMing you and, having sex with you and blah, blah, blah. Yes, in theory, but for many people, that's a little bit of a fantasy land, okay? And here's the other thing, right? The whole purpose of game or dating skills or whatever you want to call it, dating dynamics, in my understanding, was that these were techniques that could be used by the ordinary, in inverted commas, guy in order to, meet more women, meet more attractive girls, and, have more options in his dating life without having to be, a superstar, rock star kind of dude with, big cars and, massive presence on social media and all that kind of stuff, right? Surely that's the whole point of this stuff. There would never have been a game community if the only answer was, well, you just got to become rich and shredded and really good looking. It's an absurdity. The whole point of game was that it was a selection of really psychological tools based on an acute observation of human nature in order to weight the tables more in favour of the guy who wasn't that James Bond character. That's the point of it, right? Now, at the same time, yes, you should be self-improving. You've got to be self-improving. But the thing is that you need to, the whole purpose of this space is to teach guys who maybe aren't at that level that actually they too can improve their prospects, okay? So here's the thing, right? So anyway, you're competing with all of those guys on the dating apps, on Instagram, etc., etc. And because of the nature of that market, right now, that you have no choice. You have no choice but to be unassailable in the market. That is to say, you have to present impeccably and you have to be fearless in real life, right? And what a lot of my work, if you want to call it that, has been about is about meeting in real life, okay? Now, the dating apps, yes, I think you should be on them. I have written content about dating apps and things in the past. It's not my specialist subject, I have to admit. There are other people who cover that stuff very well. But yes, you should be on them. You should be swiping, you should be messaging, you should be meeting new people through those means, for sure. But if you want a hack in this currently very, very difficult, challenging market, it is that you need to be effective in real life. That is to say, firstly, that you're able to meet new women in real life through what we call cold approach, which is walking up to somebody you don't know and saying hello and starting a conversation. But equally, you also need to be effective when she comes out to meet you from the dating app. That's the other thing. Because, look, even if you meet on Tinder or whatever, you're either going to meet her for a date, in which case you're going to have to be effective on that date and stand out from the crowd and be like, somebody she actually wants to spend some time with. Or you're going to be doing the sort of, getting her to come over to your apartment type thing, which might be which might be the prescription right now. But still, right? You've still got to come across. Yeah, so you need to have the skills to optimize your dating app presence and your skills on the apps. But, by God, you're going to need the real life stuff as well. There's no point in having like a massively optimized dating app presence only then to end up meeting girls and then them not wanting to spend more time with you after the date because, you just come across like a boring chode. So the hack in this scenario is that you need to acquire an X factor. You need to be able to charm and to persuade her in real life, okay? And the other thing as well is, I would say, a little bit of a plug once more for our old friend Day Game. People criticize Day Game. Some people love it, whatever. I personally just think it's a skill that you need to have. And it's not about going out on a Saturday and speaking to 70 different girls and, getting rejected by 68 of them and getting 2 numbers that flake. You can do that stuff at the beginning for practice. But what this is actually about is just going about your everyday life and then being able to start a conversation with girls that you find attractive and get their contact details and put them into your funnel, put them into your pipeline. And that's something I would say it benefits every guy to learn. Every guy on the planet should be learning this stuff. Because we all, isolation and quarantine aside, we all go out You know, we all go to the post office, we all go to the airport, we all go to the railway station, we all go to the nightclub, you know, like we all go to the supermarket, the grocery store, whatever, right? And when we go out, we are, under normal circumstances, not COVID related, surrounded by thousands and millions of people. And, you know, it just makes sense to be able to connect with those people. And people will say, yeah, well, she's going to compare you to her, you know, you're going to talk to her and exchange contact details, and then she's just going to compare you to the dude she's talking to on Instagram. Well, maybe, but if you come across well in real life, you gain points, okay? You gain at least 3 points, maybe more, if you make a good impression in real life. It's more tangible. You're not just some dude. You're not just some avatar on an app that she hasn't met. You are a real tangible dude. And if you can create chemistry in the moment, that is incredibly powerful. That is much more powerful even than having a nice shot of your abs on Tinder, okay? So the hack, if there is one, is this ability to come across persuasively in real life. And the way that you do that is by firstly finding ways to raise your levels of charisma, that is your personal magnetism. And then you need to be able to, and this is really important, okay, and this is like a little bit counterintuitive, but you need to be able to stand out from the crowd by embracing your darker side, your shadow side, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, listen, you know the expression, nice guys finish last. And they do. I mean, you know, I was watching a reality show the other night and a girl was going, oh, God, you know, I always go for the bad boys. And I was thinking, how many women do we hear saying that? You know, it's not just an isolated few. It's not just like the sort of, you know, some damaged, low-quality woman. It's pretty much every girl ever that you ask to describe who she dates or the kind of, you know, her past dating history and blah, blah, blah. They will always say that they like the jerks, the bad boys. So if you want to be effective in this marketplace, not only do you need to be charismatic and magnetic as a person, you also need to be able to access that darker side. Okay, now this isn't saying that you need to become a psychopath. This isn't saying that you need to become Patrick Bateman. But what it is saying, well, okay, listen, this is clearly what the market wants. This is what the market responds to, these dark triad personality traits. So how can I emphasize those within my own character in order to make the sort of impression that I want? And then the third thing you want to do is radically differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, okay? And radical differentiation is often misunderstood when I talk about it, because people think, oh, so it's just peacocking. I've just got to wear some crazy clothes when I go out and I'll be differentiated from the other guys, and so that's going to get me the results. Well, no, it's not like that. It's more subtle than that. It's more nuanced than that. Because when you differentiate yourself from the market, you have to do it in a way that is congruent with your personality. You have to do it in a way that is authentic, because if you don't, people are going to sense it and you're going to look like an idiot. But, and this is something that I wrote in my seminal work, How to Be an Arsehole, which is a book I wrote several years ago now, and still remains my best-selling book to this day. And from that, I know that people are interested in this area. Dark triad characteristics, that is bad boy characteristics, plus radical differentiation is the silver bullet that you need to be attractive to attractive women. Okay? People always come to this space and they want to know, all right, so what's the secret? What is the one thing I just need to do that, and this is going to get me the kind of access that I've always dreamed of. And of course, the truth is, right, there is no silver bullet. There is no secret. Because there are too many competing factors involved in all of this to say definitively, right, just do that and then that's it. You're going to become, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's not like that. But if there's anything approaching a silver bullet, it is that dark triad, bad boy characteristics, plus radical differentiation equals the silver bullet that you are looking for. And if you can imbue that also with a high degree of charisma, then you are really firing on all cylinders, okay? Those are the things that you need to be concentrating on. Those are the things that you need to work on in order to become the sort of person who can move effectively through this current dating marketplace. And as we come out of the current situation, as we come out of COVID-19 and isolation and lockdown and everything, as I've said before, there's going to be a huge amount of pent-up demand out there. Because look, girls are sitting around bored out of their brains and lacking attention, all right? I mean, you might be bored out of your brains, but so is she. And as soon as this starts to lift, and it will start to lift, as we said, maybe on a tiered basis, maybe more quickly in certain parts of the world than others, but it is going to lift, then are you going to be in that position to take advantage and to supply the market with what it demands or not? And that's why, as I've said, now is the time really to be working on yourself in order to ensure that you are the best that you can possibly be. Now, again, I would reiterate, this doesn't mean don't work out. This doesn't mean don't get ripped. This doesn't mean don't have nice clothes and things like that, or good grooming and whatever. I mean, yes, you are working on your business, working on your side hustle, blah blah blah. Yeah, you need to be doing all of that stuff as well. But what I am talking about here is a very fundamental process of self-actualization. Okay? This is not about learning superficial dating technologies or techniques or, how to open her or, how to reply to a message and stuff like that. What this is really about is a deep process of mental and personality reconfiguration, okay? This is about, and this is why the course that I put together, Charisma and Dating Academy, is so deep and so dense and so transformational, really. Because what this is about, it's not just saying, okay, here's a few subtle tweaks, right, you're good to go. No. This is about taking yourself apart like you would take an engine apart and rebuilding yourself from the ground up, okay? This is about really, really fundamental personality change because trust me, that is what you need. That is what, the success that I've had in this area has all been down to this stuff, okay? If it wasn't for me doing this stuff, if it wasn't for me doing the precise process that I outline in Charisma and Dating Academy throughout the 5 sections of it, I would have had no success in this area. I certainly wouldn't have entered into this line of work. I would never have been a dating coach. I would never have written those books. I would never have had all those crazy adventures all over the world, with different girls, different people. It just wouldn't have happened. It was only through that process of rebuilding myself on a very fundamental level that any of that stuff happened. Because before, I was just a hopeless chode, right? I was a hopeless beta chode like anybody else. I certainly didn't have, a supercar or, big muscles or, any of that stuff. I mean, I was just a complete and utter, failure in all of this stuff, really. But it was the internal stuff that I did, and the internal stuff actually that I continue to do to this day, that really changed things up for me. So powerful, right? I mean, and this is the thing. I mean, now the other thing is as well, the final section of Charisma and Dating Academy, there's a full section on game. And I give the full, and I think it's probably the longest section actually in the course. And I do go through, the fundamental techniques that I use, that you need to use to be successful. More geared towards real life meeting, cold approach, but some of it applicable to the dating apps as well. But so that there is content in there that will give you, the specifics, right? What do I say? How do I stand? What about eye contact? All that kind of stuff. But what's more important, in a way, is that fundamental personal change, because you can learn all of the game stuff. You can learn how to do an approach. You can learn how to deal with her friends who are cock-blocking you and all these things. But if you don't have that magnetism, if you don't have that bad boy plus radical differentiation vibe, at the end of the day, you're just another also-ran. You're just another chode, okay? And the world ain't got time for chodes anymore, right? And the world is certainly not going to have time for chodes anymore when we finally come out of this damn thing that everybody's getting fed up with, and we're able to return to some sort of normality. There's going to be a lot of pent-up demand, but the people who are going to be able to take advantage of that demand are the people who, have done the work on themselves, the people who have undergone the necessary transformation in order to become the sort of guy who is attractive to women in this current dating marketplace, okay? And that's exactly why I put that course together, because I wanted to just basically, I've written books about this stuff, how to be an asshole, still in the game, I talk about some of this stuff, approach her like Chad, I try to get into but my thing has always been, how can I most effectively teach people this inner work that you need to do? Because I tutor guys, right? I'll take guys out and I'll watch them doing approaches. I'll watch them going and talking to girls, and I'll see them doing it. I'll listen to them doing it. And here's the thing, right? You can get a guy who knows all of the techniques. He kind of knows what he's supposed to say. He kind of knows, how he's supposed to stand with sort of some alpha body language and all that kind of stuff. But he's not communicating anything because he's still a chode, and I say that with love and affection, and sympathy and everything else. But ultimately, he is still a chode who's just learned a few lines. And yes, that might work occasionally, but it's that inner stuff. It's that inner work that really makes the difference. Okay, it's charisma, it's dark triad, and it's radical differentiation. Those things are the silver bullet. Those things are the things that are going to make a difference. And, I really wanted to find the most efficient way that I could to teach people that, because it's just really important stuff. It's a jungle out there, guys, and you need to be prepared for warfare out in the dating trenches. Anyway, there you go. I hope that you got something from that. Hope you enjoyed it. Got a little bit passionate during that one because I really am passionate about this. I think it's so important, and that's why I'm really excited about Charisma and Dating Academy. The Q2 enrollment is from the 30th of April to May the 4th. It's only open for 4 days, so you've got to be quick. Because this stuff is just it's just vital in today's market. And the other thing, right, is as well, I know that there are guys out there who can change. I know that there are guys, because I've coached them, I've worked with guys, and they have changed, they have had success. But you've got to be willing to do the work. You've got to be willing to do the transformational, deep work on yourself that's actually going to make a difference, right? And that's not for everyone. It's not for the faint-hearted, but it is worth it, because you will change your life and you will completely reconfigure your dating life as well. So look, Charisma and Dating Academy, open from the 30th of April to the 4th of May. The link is below, so get onto the email list, because you'll need to be on there for updates and etc. etc. There's a link for that below. And that's it really. Do subscribe to my channel. If you're listening to this on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're not, please go over to YouTube and subscribe anyway, because I'm putting out loads of content over there at the moment, doing live streams, lots of different stuff. And it really helps me out in terms of just, growing the audience, getting more people on board so I can continue to put this content out. Let me know your thoughts on this. As always, you can always email me, troyfrancis7laws@gmail.com. And that's it for today. So we will speak again very soon.